This is Ask GMBN, the regular weekly show where we answer your questions you send in to us.
Yeah, so let's get cracking with the first question. Neil, what have we got?
Wonton Soup.
That's a good name.
Username, how should I approach jumps with really steep takeoffs?
Oh, well, to start with, I would say with caution.
Yeah.
With caution, because one thing a steep takeoff's going to do is send you high.
Yeah, sometimes you risk going very high and actually not getting the distance to the jump, so it's trying to judge that. Definitely pump into the bottom, and sometimes you actually just stand tall as you hit it, so you're actually letting the jump throw you up rather than doing too much work on takeoff. But yeah, definitely with caution.
Yeah, one thing I would say about a really steep takeoff is no jump feels better when you absolutely sky it and make the landing. Feels fantastic.
Yep. Next one comes from Kai Wilson, and he's just converted from BMX to mountain biking. As you expect, the skills from the BMX years have converted really well, and Slopestyle's really caught his attention, but it seems that Slopestyle only exists for top-level pro riders. His question is, how do pros get into Slopestyle when there's no lower Slopestyle events?
Oh, that is a really good question. It's a really good question because Slopestyle, it's a very fluid part of the sport, because really you get into those events by really meeting the actual riders themselves. It's almost like a invite, you know, the riders say, oh, you should come to this event because you do well, and you'll have been asked because they think you've got the skills to do it. You almost need those tools to be able to attack the course.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, a lot of them are dirt jumpers primarily to begin with, and that's how they get in to ride in the big jumps. But yeah, I guess you go to places like Whistler, where they do have smaller slope style, you know, parts of the tracks there, like step on, step offs. But most places, yeah, it's either massive or there isn't slope style. So.
Yeah, but you do get to the point of, if you make slope style small, is it really slope style anymore? I don't know if it is.
Samuel Wyborney's got a mechanical question. He would like narrower bars. He says the rise on his bars is okay, he likes them, he's dead comfortable, but he feels like he's driving a bus. Do I need to buy new bars, or can I cut them down using vice and hacksaw?
Cut them.
Yeah, I cut my bars down an awful lot actually. I mean, nowadays bars have become slightly narrow. You can get a trail bar that's sort of 740, 750, but that's about my sort of preference. But yeah, just use hacksaw. You can use a guide, but if you do them really carefully, you can get away without it. But check out our video on how to cut handlebars.
Measure them yourself and do double check that they are correct, because you don't want to end up cutting them too short. Unfortunately, you can't stick carbon bars back on.
BMW S1000RR asks, what are the limitations of a hardtail? We get asked this an awful lot, don't we? I would say on really rough terrain, that's where they're going to be the worst. So you risk sort of slipping off your pedals a little bit. Rear punctures are quite common on hardtails, and just getting out of control a little bit on really rough situations.
Yeah, I mean, I would say really great bike to have, hardtail, because I rode hardtail for my entire career, coming from trials, never really got into suspension too much. And I loved riding, it's such an exciting ride. If you get on a really gnarly trail, your interaction with the trail itself is very precise, and it feels amazing when you get going quick on a hardtail. Feels awesome.
So I think limitations is almost the wrong word. They can do everything, but maybe not quite as well.
It's a different style of riding.
Yep. Ben Lonergan, I'm looking at getting a new bike. I'm not sure whether to get an aggressive hardtail or an entry-level full suspension bike. I ride a lot of street and jumps, but also a bit of trail riding. I would probably say the aggressive hardtail would suit that better, because it's going to be really good for jumps and riding street, and you probably get a bit more for your money than an entry-level full suspension bike. Yeah,
definitely. More for your money on the hardtail.
And you should check out our video, what bike for what discipline. So let's start with cross-country bikes. This is the Canyon Exceed, a cross-country race bike. This is where weight is really important. So this is carbon fibre frame. These bikes are often 29ers because they've got that extra rollover. So once you're up to speed, they'll carry speed really well.
Okay, back to some questions. Marco Friesen. The Limits guys are finally shipping their power meters. What do you think? Should I mount them on a road bike, or do you see any use for mountain biking?
I've actually used power meters on both my road bike and my mountain bike. I'd say the sort of more cross-country end of the scale your riding is, the more useful it'll be. Anything sort of enduro and downhill, the riding's almost a bit too punchy, so it's quite good for comparing like max wattages, things like that, but you're not going to be staring at your head unit so much. But yeah, definitely useful.
Okay, Mongo Island, what is the benefit of inverted forks, or do they just look clean?
The one benefit I've always heard is that the seals stay lubed because of the gravity bringing the oil down to them. But they tend to be quite flexy upside down forks. That's why they've never really taken off, I don't think.
Yeah, I've always thought that it was something we tried a few years ago and it didn't really work out, but I don't know.
Yeah, I used to have some Marzocchi Shiver triple clamps back in the day and they were terrible.
Maybe the new ones though are a lot
better,
Carlo Gongaza, I've got a 160mm disc on the front of his bike. He's planning to move to a bigger size. What are the advantages or disadvantages of that?
Advantages, it'll be more powerful and it'll dissipate the heat better if you're riding big long descents.
Yeah.
Disadvantages?
Disadvantages, more rock strikes, bigger disc, it's easier to hit. Yeah. Slightly heavier as well, but the extra power, I would always go for that. I like a big disc so I can race it a punchy, that's what I want.
Yeah, downhill bike's sort of 200mm. My trail bike probably around 180, 160.
My trials bike, 200mm.
Ooh, must have been going fast on that trials bike.
No. Appleberry Bagel. When I'm out riding and shift to a smaller cog, oftentimes I press the shifter twice before it will respond, and sometimes it skips a cog. So,
bit of friction, I would say. Yeah. So either the rear mech might be a little bit damaged, that's why the spring isn't bringing it back down nicely, but the number one cause for that would probably be a bit of friction in your gear cable.
Yeah. And on that note, we can have a quick look at our how to change a gear cable video.
Get some of this little tube in and thread this on to the old inner cable and just push it all the way through the bike. That's obviously then going to pop out of this hole down here. It's going to make it much easier when you stick the new cable in.
Okay, it's time for the quick fire round. First question from Callum Ramsey. Do you have any tubeless fat bikes?
Yes, you can do. You can buy a kit to do that.
Yeah, do you have one?
No, mine's got tubes in it. Massive tubes.
Massive tubes, they are big. Neddy Aussie, is it better to leave your dropper post in the down or up position overnight?
Doesn't matter.
Does not matter. Ben Featherstone, I want to do a thorough wash of my drivetrain. Should I use muck off chain cleaner or muck off degreaser?
Degreaser if you're going to do a really thorough chain clean.
All right, so the cleaner is just more basic?
Yeah, it's just for your bike, but the degreaser will take all the oil off your chain and all the muck.
Lord Mateus, great name. Do any of you guys ever go road biking?
I do. You, Martin?
Slightly hurt by that question. Joey Fallon, do any pro mountain bikers live off their salary? And if so, how many? That is a great question.
It's a hard question to answer. I know downhill, so I'll probably answer for that side of things. Yes, I would guess that probably 30 pro mountain bikers live off their salary.
Is that more or less than you thought? Trials, I can probably answer that one. Trials is a tiny part of mountain biking. It's a very small niche of the sport. But actually, it's got quite a large number of pro riders because obviously you can use your riding skills and being very entertaining to perform as well as compete and also make online videos. Yeah. I know a couple of trials riders who've done quite well out of that.
Oh yeah. So, but there's a big scale, isn't there? Like any job, I suppose. There's those guys and girls who are buying new fancy BMWs and cars and things. And then there's the other end that maybe they have to work winters doing a normal job and then they earn a bit of money in summers. So there's a big gap in the middle of all those different types of people.
Yeah, great question though, yeah.
So now we're on to Correct Me If I'm Wrong, where we take a look at your videos that you've sent in to ask@gmbn.com and we see if we can help you improve.
Right, who we got? David Lambert, out on a pump track.
Yeah, in Draper, Utah. It's going really well.
Looks pretty good.
Making speed, it's totally flat, obviously other than the rollers and stuff, so if you can get around it, you're definitely pumping somewhat.
He's not pedaling, he's pumping it.
I would say the one thing is you're quite central to the bike, which definitely works, we can see that. But you might find if you drop yourself lower to the rear tyre, you'll get more weight into the rear tyre and you'll go a bit faster. But
yeah, one thing I say is you're not wrong, and there's only one way to get better at it on a pump track, and it is go around and around and around, and you get faster and faster and faster. And
yeah, very true.
Great way to practice.
Nice one. Keep sending them to ask@gmbn.com.
Okay, thanks for watching Ask GMBN. Don't forget to keep your questions coming to ask@gmbn.com.
Or leave them down below.
Yeah, and if you want to see more GMBN videos, then why don't you click on how to improve your confidence jumping just here.
And click on how to manual through rollers with Brendan Fairclough just here.
And of course, click on the logo to subscribe.
Thumbs up if you enjoyed this video.